The main sources of money for college. Here we have to, I think, look at the variety of families we're talking about, because they are different for different families. So if we've got a lower income family, we're going to obviously be talking more about financial aid there. So those kind of families are ones which are really going to be affected by any government budgetary cutbacks in things like the Pell Grant or the interest subsidies on the interest rate for student loans. At the other end of the scale, we have people who have no financial need according to the way that things are calculated. In other words, their income and assets are such that they're deemed to be able to afford college without any assistance. For those kind of people, the two main sources of income would be tax savings, which I think we're going to talk about in a program, yeah. And then also getting merit aid from the college. In the middle, we have a very broad band of people that we can call middle income people. And my phrase for them is that there is no magic bullet. You have to look under every rock for any source of income that you can find. Mm-hmm. And of those sources of income, college selection, I believe, is the most important.
Okay. So why do you say that college selection is the most important factor for middle-income families?
Because you're not only selecting the initial cost of attendance, but you're also selecting it in terms of what you anticipate will be the help that the college will give you. Mm-hmm. So for these middle-income families, we're probably saying that financial aid, need-based financial aid from the government, from the federal government and state governments, is minimal. And where they really need to look is the college itself. So colleges, make up the rest of the aid package. And some colleges, frankly, do a better job of it than others. Yeah, so you can look at one college that has a lot of unmet need and another college that meets that need.
Mm-hmm. So I think I saw something about Stanford University, for example, that they've got a multi-billion endowment, and so they can afford to help some of their students with that shortage, if you will, in other words, to sort of cover through that fund some of the costs for their students.
There are colleges that are rich, as you say, and colleges that are always in demand. Mm-hmm. They're very special, and they have the ability to do that kind of thing, to help families in the way you're talking about. The difficulty is they only accept 7, 8, 9% of the people who apply.
Right.
So that leaves 91%
have to go someplace else.
looking for a different college.
Right. Okay. Well, what else can a family do to find money for college?
Like I say, college selection is the most important. So when we're thinking in terms of how much money, how much aid you can get, the way I put it is that if we're thinking tens of thousands of dollars, then that is going to come from the financial aid from the college, and that depends on college selection. It's going to come from probably your income and your savings. So this is what is called the expected family contribution in the financial aid field. This is the expected family contribution is a number that is calculated, and that is what the family is supposed to deliver. Mm-hmm. Some families have done a better savings job than others, but it will come to those type of sources, the savings and the income. That comes back to this word affordability. When we get beyond that, we're looking at things like tax savings and then the federal assistance. That would be mainly what is called the Stafford loan, $5,500 Stafford loan. Every student can get that from the government. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, we're coming down now in terms of importance, coming down to things like the regular tax benefits. Mm-hmm. The main tax benefit is the American Opportunity Credit. That's worth $2,500. At this level, you might also be looking at some some help from other family members, people like grandparents, they might contribute a few $1,000s a year.
The student might also go to work and
Yes.
earn a little money to save for college or help out to pay the bills along the way.
That's very true. So often in my practice, I'm dealing with families and I'm looking at the information that they give me and how much is the student contributing? What are the student's savings? What are the student's earnings? And so often I see zero.
Yeah, yeah. But that doesn't mean we can't encourage them, especially if the family needs the help. And you know, when you earn things, you value them a lot more, don't you?
Yes, it's having skin in the game. So often that would be the Stafford loan, the loan to the student in the student's name, but also whether or not they're earning and using their own savings.
Yeah. Well, here's an issue that comes up quite often, even with my own clients, and I'm sure that you hear it daily with the people that you're talking to, and that is this issue of whether the student can be made independent. Will that make any difference? What if I stop claiming my son or daughter as a dependent on my income tax return? So does that really help?
Afraid not.
Oh, darn.
So the concept is on the aid application, the financial aid application, which is called the FAFSA, whether or not you can claim, whether or not the student can be independent. And in some families, the student does act in an independent way, as teenagers do, and maybe even self-supporting in some families.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the way that the government will look at it when it's thinking about giving away its own money. And to be an independent student, you have to be, married, have a child, be older than age 24, be a veteran. It's a very, very short list. Mm-hmm. And for most families, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you should talk a little bit about the FAFSA and that process, and maybe some of the timing when some of this stuff has to be done.
Sure. So the application for financial aid, the government financial aid, really starts in January. We're talking about in the senior year of high school, a very short period from January through to the 1st of May to get everything settled. Mm-hmm. So hopefully the student has his college list, has applied to the colleges in the semester before. You get to January, you apply for the government financial aid using the FAFSA. Probably also submit additional forms for some of the private colleges. The colleges look at those during March, get back to you with an offer of admittance and a financial aid package late March, early April, and that gives you a very short period of time to actually make the decision by May 1st.
Mm-hmm. So we have a short period of time between the application to the university, the submission of information for financial aid, and then some feedback as far as, okay, are you accepted or not? And now maybe you should talk a little bit about, if you will, sort of the package or offer that the universities come up with for the students, and how you compare them.
The problem is that in this very short period of time, that is really when a lot of families realize how expensive college is and how unprepared they are. Those packages arrive, and they, for some families, consist only of loans, and that may come as a shock.
Yeah.
So the main, the mistake families make right at the beginning is not starting early enough, not understanding the process, and not getting that basic concept of only purchasing what you can afford. So by not figuring out the cost of what it is they're purchasing, and on the other hand, not really calculating how much they can afford, they have some very difficult family conversations when those aid awards arrive. So yes, they have maybe acceptances from a number of colleges on the table, an aid award from each, and then they're trying to understand it. A simple spreadsheet would help there.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily make up for the fact that they applied to some of the wrong colleges in the first place.
Oh dear. Okay. Now, as I understand it, you really need to get these FAFSAs submitted fairly early. So, isn't it like almost like a January 31st or really early deadline? What is the deadline for the FAFSA form?
The deadline is surprisingly late,
Oh, okay.
but it makes sense to apply early
Yeah.
for a number of reasons.
So I've heard that you want to get it in early.
Yes. So remember, we were saying that the federal financial aid that comes directly from the FAFSA is not very important for a number of families, and it's the college aid, the money from the college, which is more important. But the college isn't going to give away its own money without the FAFSA, so you have to file the FAFSA anyway.
Yeah. Now, there's another thing related to this, and that is that there's some people that are accustomed to filing their tax returns late. And this is one instance when you don't, that you need to get your tax returns really done early and before you get that FAFSA done form. Isn't that right?
Yes. As a tax professional yourself, I'm sure you're always encouraging your clients to file on time. But in this particular case, it's definitely not a situation where you want to have to file an extension. And I know that can be difficult for some families with complicated K-1 type situations. But the average family should file the FAFSA even though they haven't filed their tax return. Then file the tax return as early as possible, and then update the FAFSA to agree with the tax return. At some point, they have to agree.
Yeah. So anyway, but if possible, have your tax return done early, and hopefully not have to amend it. And many people, if you just got a salary and your interest and dividends and your mortgage deduction and so forth, the tax return is not that difficult to where you have to put it off. It's like you said, if you have some sort of business interest or something that can postpone it. But when I had a partnership, we had to do our closing like in January or before, early in January, in order to be ready so that I could get my financial aid forms for my kids. Okay. Well, David, I want to thank you very much for this discussion, and maybe have just a final little word, not more than 15 or 20 seconds for our viewers.
So start early, understand the process, make sure you're not purchasing what you can't afford. And then good luck, and hope you get into a great college.
Okay, thanks again. Folks, I hope that we've given you some thought-provoking material. It's going to be helpful to you. And we'll see you next time on Financial Insider Weekly.